Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today with episode 239 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it's me, Karak with ACG.
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you're all doing well. Just a heads up about my mic. Karak and I have been trying to figure this sumbitch out for a good number of minutes now. Nothing's really working. So this is the best that we've got right now as we continue to put foam and stuff on the walls here and make this studio a little more audio friendly. But we do appreciate your patience. I just want to make sure I mention it off the bat because, first comment will be about it. So
yeah,
make sure people know. Karak, as always, I like to ask how you're doing. How was your week?
Busy, even though it wasn't really game stuff. But yeah, super busy. Yeah. Pretty good, though. Pretty good.
Busy's
Didn't really play
good.
much. Couple side games here and there.
Yeah,
Did you play?
yeah.
Did you really play anything?
That's the thing. I play games most days, but like lately it's been along the lines of I don't feel like really driven to play games right now because nothing crazy's coming out. Nothing's grabbing my attention. I'm kind of just in like a lull.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to play a little catch up on some games. One of the games I'm playing right now is Sekiro. As a lot of people on the show know, I'm not like a number one Sekiro fan. Like I dropped it pretty quickly. I got like a couple of mini bosses in, and then I was like, it's not for me. And I dropped it, but I have some friends who are obsessed with this game. Like, I mean obsessed, like beat the game 10 plus times, obsessed, like just absurd, because they really, really, really like it. So they were like, dude, nothing's coming out in February, try it again. I was like, all right, I'm like, what am I going to do? I got nothing else to play. So yeah, I got past Genichiro. I just beat him last night. He took me 21 tries. My friend was counting. It took me 21 tries. So
which friend is this? So I get an idea. Is this Vinny?
No, this is my friend Never. He's like a PlayStation friend. Like
gotcha.
I don't actually like know him. He's like an online friend.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, and so he's like we jokingly call him like a mentor because he like we'll go on share play on PS4. Mm-hmm. And he'll just like watch us play the game and be like, no, that's not what you've got to do. Like, and he'll kind of coach you in the game.
That's awesome.
It's a fun interaction. Yeah. So it's made it kind of a meta game. So that's made Sekiro a lot more enjoyable. The combat is sharp. It is good. I didn't realize how good it felt until I played Sekiro. I was like, I left it. I played something else. And then the next day, which was yesterday, I came back, played it again. I was like, okay, so this game does have a good feel. Something that I don't think you really realize until you go into another third-person action game. I just don't see myself loving it as much, though, because everyone's like, yeah, after you beat Genichiro, like, the hooks are in. I beat him, and I was like, yeah, I guess I'll keep playing. Like, I don't know. I certainly know now it's definitely not, like, the game for me. I like it. I will try to see it through as long as it holds my attention, because there's also nothing else to play. But it's not as high on my list as it is for others. And I think it's just because of preference. I like Dark Souls because or Bloodborne, because less Bloodborne in this style with builds, but more so in Dark Souls where you have bosses and then you have boss tactics, and then like you can tackle bosses differently based on your build. I always found that really exciting because there's multiple ways to fight the same enemy, plus just the matter of being on your toes and easily being punished. I think that just melds better with me as a gamer, and Sekiro is just more of like an action adventure title, which is an interesting foray for FromSoft. They did a great job, but it's just doesn't have the hooks for me. Have you been playing anything?
I've done a little bit of board game stuff. I did test last. Wait, was it this week? It was either this week or last week. Jesus, I can't even remember. I think it was this week.
I saw you cleaning something in your board game room or
Well, yeah, I was doing that too, now that I think about it. I was cleaning up, those are all hero clicks in like the plastic storage bin, so I was moving those. But I decided I was going to do some content every day. So I did.
I saw that, yeah.
I think that must have been this week. So I did a YouTube video. I think I did 2 in a row. Then I did a podcast, audio only on Spotify. And then another audio only, and then today, we'll do the podcast. That was sort of what took up, like trying to decide what I wanted to cover, because I'm not very good if I'm not really interested in whatever it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that was it, man. I don't know. I've been like, it's weird. I've been sort of loath to put a game in because it is slightly dead. So I've been doing a little bit of study on game design and stuff for like future videos.
it's
So
a perfect time to just
yeah.
divert and do like watch a show, watch a movie, read a book. I
Oh,
started a
I have
book
been
the other
watching
night,
shows. Yeah.
so
What book? What book?
I started. It was called Meditation. Was it? Yeah, I think Meditations. It's about this former Roman emperor and sort of his little like self-written journal that he, to motivate him each and every day. It wasn't like I was looking for a self-help book, but like I found out that because I'm a Prime member, and I found out that Amazon Prime has on the Kindle this thing called Prime Reading, where they just give
Yeah,
out
it's
free
awesome,
books.
isn't it?
And
Yep.
I was just like, wow, like a lot of these are really good books too. So
Yep.
I took advantage and I started one. I don't know if I'll stick with this book because there was another one I saw that caught my interest. But now that I know I can kind of like surf between books until something grabs me, that's kind of exciting. I'll definitely be messing with my Kindle a lot more because I used to like have to hear about it from someone or something along those lines. And my taste in books is vastly different from like my family. My family loves like murder mysteries and all
Oh,
that
right.
stuff, and I'm just like, I'll play Danganronpa.
Yeah.
that's that's my logic. Yes, but ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are uninitiated, welcome to the H.A.M Radio Podcast. This is our weekly gaming show where we just like to unwind a little bit, talk the latest gaming news, and just connect with you guys. So just keep in mind, this is a free show. We're available every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, as well as Pocket Casts. If you want to support the show, a buck will get you early access here. If you want to get involved in the Discord and join in multiple conversations and submit your questions for both this podcast as well as BFGF AFK, my other podcast with my girlfriend, that's $3. And so we appreciate everyone who continues to support us there. Someone actually left a comment saying they were like, $3 to get into a Discord. Man, you guys, really learn from Bethesda. And I understand the mindset, but I don't think people realize how quickly toxic a Discord can get. So just having a, what's it called? Having
A barrier of entry.
Yeah, it
So wait,
makes a pretty big difference.
They were trying to say that because you were spending, or because you were asking for well, first of all, I asked for $5, so fuck off whoever that was. Second, to give you guys an example, let me give you guys an example real quick about how toxic it can be. I had one issue that was so toxic, I had multiple people come in to the podcast or to the Discord when it was free and try to cause a bunch of issues, and it cost me probably $900 to in time to fix the issues, get a bot set up to stop those issues from happening, and that was all because it was free. People who pay, it is very, very easily studied and researched that a person who pays will usually treat something with a higher, what do you call it, a higher importance.
Yep. Yeah, and so we're not really out to explain ourselves, but more so to just clarify people's perspective. Yeah. If you don't want to pay, that's totally fine. No one's obliged to. We make the show available for free so that you can enjoy it without spending your money. It's for those who would like to opt in, be a part of the conversation, as we account for literally all of our patron questions every single week, and we take pride in that.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that all said, Karak, let's actually, I'm sorry, I almost was incredibly rude. Is there anything happening on your Patreon?
Yeah, wait. I think this month there's a UFC, so we'll do the thing I was telling you about where we do like a UFC get together.
Yeah.
And then I have been doing quite a few like behind, like releasing it to Patreon, or I sort of took your, like what you do with your podcast where it's like patrons early. So what I've been doing with a couple videos that I know aren't like reviews, I've been doing them a little early to see how those are. And then probably a B-movie night, but we haven't decided when.
Cool.
But not a lot of game stuff because there just really isn't anything huge right now.
Cool. All right, nice. It looks like you guys are having fun over there. Yeah, I gotta try like little like I guess activity things like. I feel like the way you run your Patreon, this isn't meant in a mean way, so don't take it this way, but it's like almost like a school. You got like your B movie nights. You got like little activities planned.
Yeah, we do.
And I think that's cool. So I that's something I definitely should adopt for my own because that sounds like a really fun idea. All right, now with all of that out of the way, let's talk gaming news. We're gonna discuss Dan Houser leaving Rockstar, pretty significant shift in the industry. I'm sure the ripple effect will be felt throughout Rockstar. How much? Well, we'll discuss that in a second. Let's read the official document. After an extended break beginning in spring of 2019, Dan Houser, Vice President Creative at Rockstar Games, will be leaving the company. Dan Houser's last day will be March 11th, 2020. We are extremely grateful for his contributions. Rockstar Games has built some of the most critically acclaimed and commercially successful game world, a global community of passionate fans, and an incredibly talented team which remains focused on current and future projects. So, Karak, what do you make of the guy who pretty much headed up franchises like Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, Max Payne? I'm pretty sure he headed up the writing for Red Dead Redemption 2, which was like a fantastic story. How do you receive this loss from Rockstar?
Yeah, it's pretty big because I checked his Internet Movie Database, and it's like every game, main writer, every game, NPCs written by him, every game, side characters written by him, every game, main character. I was just like, what the fuck? He legit seems to be like the main crux of the thing that I think most people like about those games, or at least the Red Dead part and Bully, which is the story. I think GTA 5, people probably wouldn't say the story was the best part. So, no, I think it's huge. And we talked about this with the doctors leaving BioWare. It's like when you change a leader, the focus, the atmosphere will change. We'll see, somebody said, because I was pretty negative about it in my video, and somebody was like, well, somebody else might step in who's better. And I'm like, you know what? This reminds me of Ubisoft saying they're changing their editorial staff. I'm like, that's not the problem. The problem is not Ubisoft's story, right? It's like the weird gameplay issues or something like that. So to me, him leaving is probably the worst person to leave, if that makes sense. As in the guy I would most rather have not have left. But it is what it is. Like he's gone or leaving.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's well earned. You think of all the games he's worked on and for how many years he's done it. He's probably just like, I've made enough money. I'm pretty tired, and a well-earned vacation is long overdue. So I imagine that's what he's doing. Because some people were like, oh, it's because Take-Two is getting really greedy and they're thugs. And while I think there is truth to that, I do think that it has really nothing to do with him as a creative. And I'm sure that he's worked under those conditions that we've talked about with Rockstar for years, since the get-go, man. Like he's been there from the start. So, or at least I think he was from the start.
Yeah, he's a founder. He's a founder.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So he's been through it all. So I don't think suddenly, because it's got some public attention, that he's like, yeah, I'm out. I just think it's a matter of like, all right, this is it. I'm moving on now. I don't think he's moving on to any other studios or anything. I just think he's kind of done. And that's always what's interesting is this industry is so A, young, and B, like point-to-point movement. It's always not like I'm retiring, kind of like a superstar after a certain amount of time in a sport. It's always like I'm moving to this studio, I'm working on this game at this position.
Fergusson going to Blizzard.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It's always like a shift in position.
Yeah.
And I think people just always think that's what it's going to be when someone leaves a company. It's like, no, he's probably just retiring. He worked at Rockstar. They have the number 3 best-selling game of all time in GTA 5. GTA Online itself is a cash cow. So yeah, I just think at this point he's just like, yep, I'm done. I'm good.
Well, dude, he's a multi-millionaire. So at some point at your age, like if he's been in it that long, I don't know his age, but let's say I'm sure it's above 40. So he's above 40, and he's sitting there going, okay, I can work crunch hours all this time, or I can leave now when I'm still 40, which is like technically half the age of a person. Like that's a pretty okay age. I think it's also important to remember that he had talked about doing GTA 6 and how difficult it was to do satire, because anything he tries to do now doesn't feel realistic because the real world is weirder than he can write. So I was wondering if perhaps he looked at GTA 5 and said, not that this is the best we can do, I'm not saying that, but maybe he looked at GTA 5 and said, this was like everything coming together, the technology, our ideas, our time to work on the game without outside influence, all the stuff, and maybe it's like quit while you're on the absolute top. Like,
Yeah.
because he really
Kinda
is
wipe your
walking
hands of
away
it.
with a championship belt. Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's just, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm taking off. Like, and remember, he was off for a break as of 2000. He quit working there in November, I think, and took a break for 2 months before he decided to leave. So I'm assuming it might just be, yeah, just time. Just time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point that you said about like GTA 5 versus GTA 6, and I think that could definitely play a factor. Almost, let it be someone else's problem, or him almost. And this is no disrespect to him because obviously he's made helped make a lot of great games, but it's almost like getting out of the way, right? He's like,
Yeah,
if I
exactly.
stay, the series may suffer,
Yeah.
and I have enough money, and I'm gonna just move on.
And look at Red Dead 2 did really, really well, but it's not going to do as well as GTA 5. We know that. You look at the numbers and you're like, okay, we know that. And to me, he might have looked at it and said, okay, this is sort of what people want right now. And we did. I mean, why jump off when GTA 6 is going to be a stressful thing? Because how are you going to beat GTA 5? Like, how are you?
I'm a little surprised that he didn't stick through until maybe a Bully 2, if that was possible. That seemed like, once I saw that news, and then based off what you're saying, I was thinking to myself, man,
Yeah.
I thought like that would be, if
Magnum opus for him.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna exactly, because I was gonna say, GTA, what you said makes complete sense. Like, yeah, you can't get weirder than that, but there was so much room to explore with Bully and to make that, a fun but weird experience, right? Like, it was amazing to just have like a potato gun or a slingshot as a standard weapon, and that's just completely missing nowadays in gaming. So it seemed like a wide open hole to make something really unique. And the rumor for a while has been that they're making Bully 2. Is it true or not? I have no idea, but it's just constant murmurs about it. I just don't think it's like feasible or necessary for them to just say like, hey, once again, GTA 5, number 3 best-selling game, straight up. Next to like I think Tetris and Minecraft or something like that. Like just
Which aren't even like, I don't know about you, but I don't even know if I consider them games. But if you get my drift, like Tetris, I don't even think sold at the full price day one. I don't know if Minecraft. I don't know what its price is.
Minecraft was like a $20 game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like we're talking a AAA
on everything.
$60.
Android, iPhone, like stuff GTA is not even on. It's insane, dude. That success is beyond belief. It's still number one selling game half the time.
Yeah, so I don't see the rush for a GTA 6. I still don't. I wouldn't see a rush for another number of years until you see GTA Online sort of falling off and people not being interested. I don't see why you need a GTA 6. I really don't. And that's just me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't mind one, but I feel like Rockstar would be more aimed at a Bully 2. That just seems to fit what's missing now, because you could have a Bully Online, you could have like factions like the nerds, the jocks, and see where that goes, right? And then if that doesn't work, I'm sure by then it could be time for a GTA 6. At least that's just my projection.
Yeah.
Well, best to Dan Hauser. We hope he enjoys his time off, well deserved. Thank you for all the great games, and hopefully Rockstar continues to kill it. Any closing thoughts on that topic before we move on, Sarah?
Other than, yeah, like, I mean, I guess I would have liked him to work on Bully, but life.
I guess
life goes on.
One topic we could touch on real quick is: do you think Rockstar, you're going to see a noticeable like next game you play, like there might be that something's missing? Do you think the impact is that substantial? Because
yes,
that's where that's where I start to wane a little bit, because I look at Obsidian, right, and everyone's like, Chris Avellone left, their writing's fucked, and I thought The Outer Worlds was really well written, right, and it didn't have Chris Avellone on it. And that's no disrespect to Chris, or to say like the team is infinitely better than him, but I feel like that's one guy driving it, right? You're missing that driving force. But will it be so substantial that you can really feel it in the next game? That is what I'll be supremely curious to see.
The parallel there, though, at least to me, is that I don't feel Outer Worlds, while I liked it and was written well, is near as expansive as Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah,
just
true.
writing. I don't know how many lines there is, but it feels like Fallout's
New Vegas
just got,
is bigger.
Yeah, and so I get, and I totally understand that. I do. That is a good actually comparison, because I hadn't thought about Chris Lee. That is important, but there's something about the way GTA has characters that are usually pretty heartfelt, but also fairly well written. So like I know
Yeah.
people hate Trevor, the crazy dude. They hate him. But
Really? I like him.
well, here's the thing. I think they hate him because he's written well. As a psycho, he's written as a
Oh, okay.
complete psycho, and it's easy to hate. I'll hate a character in a game. What's her name in fucking Spider-Man that I wanted to kill? Mary Jane or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But that's because I knew she was written well, even though I hated her. I just feel that he did. It sounds like he had such an overarching touch with everything that I'm just wondering how much of these massive, expansive worlds, it's all going to be different. And there's so many other characters in GTA. I mean, look at how many lines of dialogue there is in GTA 5 versus even, Fallout 3. I mean, it's every mission, thousands of things being said, different missions and different things being said, 3 different protagonists. So that's what I worry about. We'll see, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not everyone's suited to handle that. So we'll be interested if they even try to fill that role, if they're just like, all right, the team remains the same. You just don't have the overhead, I guess.
Right.
That's what I'll be curious to see.
Or Chris Avalon works for him, and that's not a joke.
It's possible, right?
Yeah.
He's a freelancer. He can go anywhere he wants, really.
Yep.
All right. Let's talk about Rod Fergusson. He has also left his company, the Coalition, to go oversee the Diablo franchise. I wonder if he's kicking himself a little bit after the recent Reforged fiasco that we discussed last week. Let's read the article from IGN and get into the discussion. Rod Fergusson, Gears 5 director and head of Microsoft's The Coalition studio, announced that he is leaving the company to join Blizzard in March. Fergusson says he will be overseeing the Diablo franchise in his new role. Starting in March, I will join Blizzard to oversee the Diablo franchise. Leaving is bittersweet as I love our Gears family, the fans, and everyone at the Coalition and Xbox. Thank you. It has been an honor and a privilege to work with all of you. So, what about this one, my friend? You've played Gears 5. And I heard it's pretty good.
It is.
I have yet to play it. And Gears 4 I thought was great. So, what do you take from this loss here for Microsoft, and how much does Activision Blizzard gain?
They gain a ton because Mike Williams, he's US Gamer, he was on our podcast earlier this morning, and he explained to me that within the business, and then I went and looked, and he's right. I didn't know this, but within the business, Ron Fergusson is considered one of the premier closers for titles. So the reason why he's moved around a lot is because if a company is having issues, he is insanely good at getting a title out. Insanely good. And I guess within the industry, he is known as, like, if you are having any kind of issues, turmoil, whatever, this is the guy who will put the project absolutely back on track and get it moving forward. So I think with Gears, dude, there's not much to move forward with Gears. Not to be rude, but it is, you know what I mean? Like,
Gears is Gears.
Gears is Gears, right? So, and Diablo, I personally feel has more issues than Gears, because Diablo had they've got their own issues at Blizzard, but also the auction house. People were burned on that. They were burned on just the way everything felt and put together. It sounds like it's like, hire him. He's going to be there to say what needs to be in the game to give a positive user experience. And admittedly, a lot of people haven't been happy with some of the multiplayer stuff in the various Gears games. So it's not like he's perfect, but it seems like, at least from everything I heard, it's really a boon to Blizzard. Less so, of course, for Microsoft or 343 or Coalition. Right. But for sure, it sounds like Blizzard is going to come away with somebody who gets people sort of working all in one line, which it sounds like they're having issues with.
Yeah, I think Blizzard could definitely, based off how you described them, I wasn't aware of that, so that's really helpful information.
Neither was I.
Yeah, so that definitely fits exactly what's going on with them. I wonder, does that speak to the status of Diablo 4? And I wonder how much impact it'll have, because the game, this is going to be an obvious statement, but it looks like Diablo, right? Like, I mean, he's not there to make like a substantial change.
I think it's just the turmoil all over. They've had issues now with Classic. Remember, they were trying to tell people didn't want Classic. It sounds like he's the guy who sort of understands how to put mostly what consumers want into a game.
Okay.
By the way, I sent you those are his credits, just so you get an idea of the massive amount of titles he has done. Like, it is legit crazy how many titles he has, like, ended up bringing to.
Yeah, I'm gonna
to
bring that up on my phone now because to record our faces. I
Oh,
can't.
right.
Yeah, so
Well,
whenever you DM
I can
me,
read them quick too.
no, I see him right here.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah, so he's legit brought a ton, including BioShock, which people forget. He is the one that even what's his name credited. What's his name? Ken credited with getting BioShock back on track.
Wow.
So if you're somebody who Ken says gets him to work in a straight line, you have to assume he's probably pretty confident, and people seem to believe him, like or seem to realize that he's trustworthy in that. So we'll see.
Yeah, wow.
That's an insane list.
Counter-Strike, Microsoft Train Simulator, Gears of War, Unreal Tournament 3, Gears of War 2, Fat Princess, Shadow Complex, Lost Planet 2, Infinity Blade, Gears of War 3, Infinity Blade 2, Bulletstorm, Gears of War Judgment, that's kind of the blemish there, Infinity Blade 3, BioShock Infinite, Gears of War 4, and Gears 5. Really, really strong.
The only thing that did come up in a discussion I had in my Discord was he hasn't done an ARG before. And I was like, I don't know if he's not the guy saying what viewpoint. That's not Rod's job. He doesn't have that. He's not even into that part. So I don't think the lack of working on that particular game part of style of game is going to harm him. Plus, Gears has random drops anyway for shit. So it's not like he's...
Oh, it does?
Yeah, it's got... Well, you can get those random drops. Yeah, loot or whatever. And you get unlocks, I guess is what I mean. So it's
okay.
He's got the general idea, I guess is what I'm saying. Both games have unlocks that you get.
I thought you meant there was like a loot system.
No, sorry.
I was like,
people aren't pinata and into fucking guns flying out of them.
I was gonna say that would not fit anything Gears to me, and I'd be a little concerned. Well, not concerned actually. That would probably be good for Diablo, but
yeah,
yeah. Are you a big Diablo fan at all? Do you like the series?
Number 2, I loved, but it got me onto other companies, not them. Strangely enough, I liked them and jumped to Sacred. Did you ever play Sacred? SACRED.
Yes.
I really like those. Then I jumped into Fate,
I like
Torchlight.
Sacred. Yeah, I liked Sacred. It's funny you mentioned that because Noah, former host, him and I played Sacred together, and he friggin' hated that game.
Oh, he hated Sacred? Oh, I love it, man.
Hated Sacred. I liked it. You said Torchlight as well?
Yeah, Torchlight 1 and 2.
Great.
I liked Fate prior to those. Travis Baltry, who does the Rogue, the flying game I reviewed. The space flying game I reviewed a couple months ago. That's like Freelancer. Jesus. Rogue Galaxy. He made Fate, which is the precursor to Torchlight, basically.
Oh.
And all those games I got into because of Diablo 2. Because I wasn't in love. I loved it, but not like... I didn't want to play it, grind it, I guess. And I enjoyed Sacred and loved that world. And jumped into the other ones. So I would say I like the games. Van Helsing's good. Do you ever do that one?
Yes, I played that.
I enjoyed Van Helsing.
Xbox games with gold.
Yeah.
Have you played Path of Exile?
I have only played maybe an hour. And I liked what I played, but it's one of those games that's been in place for so long. It feels like an MMO after it's been there for 10 years.
It kind of is. It's funny because this will bring, and for those who are listening now, I'm going to have a video dedicated to this because it reminds me of, because we're talking action RPGs that are like Diablo. Have you seen any gameplay for Magic Legends?
There was a gameplay video that I saw a bit of, but I don't even remember what it looked like, to be honest.
It looks like Diablo, like a hashed up Diablo. Like it looks pretty low effort, and it's really, really fucking interesting because when I saw this, right, like I was just on Game Informer, right? I was just like checking out what was going on, just getting my head spinning for video ideas and seeing if I missed any headlines. And I saw that they were covering Magic Legends, and I was like, I like Magic the Gathering, so like let me see what this game looks like. And when I saw it, I was like, didn't they say this was an MMO? So I go back to the Game Awards. Jeff Keighley says like action MMO RPG or something like that.
Right.
I go to their site. It just says that it's like a action RPG. I start looking it up. It turns out they marketed this thing as an MMO RPG for fucking years, and then revealed it on Game Informer, and it was like a Diablo clone. Like it's a humongous fucking lie. It's a huge lie of a game. And they even said on the original site, because someone used the Wayback Machine, it said that it was a AAA, stunning visuals, and like the game looks like a mobile game now. Like it's insane, man. Like they completely lied. It's actually crazy. And just speaking of Diablo, it reminds me of it. And I kind of wanted to.
Who makes that one?
Cryptic, published by Perfect World.
I actually like their stuff usually, so I wonder. And they're usually an MMO.
Torchlight.
Well, Torchlight as well as Star Trek and Neverwinter and Secret World. That's interesting. I wonder what happened.
Yeah, it's really strange because it doesn't mean it can't be like an MMO in the terms of like Path of Exile, right? Like you go into an area, like a hub area, and there are like tons of other players using stores and stuff. But when you depart, like you go with a team of like 3 to 4 people, or I think up to 3 people, and that may be what they're trying to do. But like the way the wording and stuff, it was whatever they initially described was completely different from what they showcased.
Wonder if they had a drop in cash.
It had to have been substantial because they said they were making a AAA game, and I'm telling you, dude, because you've seen it. So like, does that look AAA to you?
Well, first thing I'll say is I'm surprised Cryptic would ever say that because they have never. They're not a AAA company at all.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting that they would say that, but it sounds to me like possibly also. Maybe there was an issue with of funding or something like that, or somebody decided, hey, MMOs aren't spinning the wheels right now, and we don't want to do that.
Shame,
but
just because
too bad.
An MMORPG set in the Magic universe would be sick.
Right.
It's so ripe for exploration, and they kind of just like are half-assing it now.
What's this game called again?
Magic Legends. I don't mean to like spin us off course here because I know we're talking Diablo, but because it's a Diablo style game, it just reminded me, and I wanted to see if you had heard about that at all. But it's fucking crazy, man. Like when I saw it, I was like, no one's talking about this. Like this is a really big deal. Like a company completely 180'd on the game they promised for years, and when they revealed it, it was not even remotely close. Like they just revealed it at like it was announced in 2017, and when they revealed it at the Game Awards, like it was an MMORPG. That's what they said, like an action MMORPG, like something like RuneScape or something.
So I would say 80% of it looks bad, but then at 25 seconds in, they start casting spells. That part fucking looked awesome. There is like flame. Go to, well, you don't have to do it. My God, that's awesome. He casts a ice spell that becomes a wave of ice. Like a fucking tidal wave of ice that looks insane.
I feel like after playing Torchlight recently, I just played that like last month, or I'm sorry, in December. I played it with a buddy, and playing that, and obviously I played Diablo. Like just looking at that, like that, it looks.
Well, it's an alpha.
And Marvel Ultimate Alliance, it looks such a step beneath that.
It is an alpha. That is one thing to remember. So that means post-processing won't even be on in this version. But yeah, no, I mean, it's true. It's definitely something to wonder about. I'll look into it because I'm definitely interested in Cryptic as just a company. They've always been like that side success. But yeah, so the first parts look really, really janky, but then they go in and there's like grass blowing, and the later part of this, like it's only a 30-second trailer. It's hard to know. Yeah, we'll have to cover it in the next podcast after I look at it and find out like if there's any history on what happened.
I'll have more research compiled. Yeah. It's interesting. Another thing I noted, I was watching a YouTuber talk about it, and he was like a Magic YouTuber, like full through and through, like knew everything about Magic, and he was like reading the website and like noting the locations that they said they were going to go, and they were like separating certain parts of the world as if like you were going across the Magic universe, but like 2 of them were in like the same area, just different names, like stuff like that, where you're just like, it seems like they wanted to be big and ambitious, but they really couldn't. And so it'll be interesting to see if.
Yeah, I don't know how they would. I mean, I'll have to go look at like the initial thing because it's Cryptic. The idea that Cryptic is trying to be like super, unless they got money from Magic, which is possible.
That's why I think,
and maybe that money has been neutered because they're not a AAA company. They're not even. They've never even aimed for that, so
it's
that's
just
interesting.
Weird because you look at like when they said MMOs, you're like, I looked at their catalog and it's like, oh, they did Neverwinter. You're like, okay, let's look at that, and it was like a standard action.
Yeah, it's just an
MMO
action
RPG,
MMO.
And you're like, yeah, this is kind of what you expect, and then they made an action RPG like Diablo. It's strange. It's real,
I wonder if they
real
just
fucking
thought
strange.
that's. Because they probably so with Neverwinter, which still gets expansions, right? And Star Trek
it
still
really?
yes, Neverwinter just got one of the biggest D&D worlds ever as an expansion.
That's awesome.
And so what I'm wondering is, I wonder if deep down inside, when they started like thinking this was a good idea, somebody said, dude, do we want another MMO like that sort of competes
Good point.
with, and maybe, and like that's it, or the money went away. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense.
It's just such a strange pivot, man.
Yeah,
that's the only
very
thing.
strange.
I don't want to bitch up a storm for no reason. It's just such a weird pivot. All right, that's all we got for the Diablo conversation. Now we're gonna look at Nvidia's GeForce streaming program, which is just exited beta. So let's take a read here. This comes from Game Informer. Nvidia may be looking to compete with Google Stadia and Microsoft's Project xCloud. The company just announced that its video game streaming service GeForce Now is exiting beta and is free for all users with a few caveats. If you're not familiar with GeForce Now, this streaming service allows users to stream PC games to laptops, Macs, Nvidia Shields, and other Android devices. Over 1,000 games are already on the surface. Oh my God, including Fortnite, Skyrim, Black Ops 4. Users can also migrate their pre-existing purchases over to Nvidia's service, meaning if you bought a game through another online store such as Steam, then that game is also on GeForce Now. And that game is also on GeForce Now. You'll be able to stream that game without an additional purchase. Users can stream with GeForce Now starting today for free, but free users will only be able to play for 1 hour before having to log off and start a new session. You can start as many sessions as you'd like, but you have to log off and log back in after an hour. Nvidia says this is necessary for providing the best service for paid users. Speaking of, those who pony up $5 a month can use GeForce Now's premium service, which offers priority access to Nvidia's servers and allows for extended sessions of up to 6 hours. GeForce Now beta members have also had their beta accounts automatically converted to this plan for free for the first few months. Similar to our experience with Google Stadia, Nvidia's tech worked better than we expected during the beta. However, we experienced a few dropped games and some visual artifacting while streaming games, which isn't ideal. Still, we're interested to see how the service evolves now that it's free to all users. Karak, is this the death blow to Stadia that everyone's been looking for?
I mean, yeah, it could be.
Dude, 1,000 games? I was just like,
yeah.
What?
I used
Doesn't
it.
mean there are 1,000 good games, but damn.
Yeah, I mean, I've used it. And I don't like the one big issue with them is the payment for the timed hours is ridiculous. It's actually that's the one thing that I think they completely fucked up on. So with Microsoft, you'll be able to stream on Xbox. You'll be able to stream, if you have their subscription, as many hours as you want, and you're already paying that bill. Then you're paying like your internet. Well, with Nvidia, they're making you pay by like hour blocks. And
yeah, that sounds strange.
That to me is that's a no-go. And the idea that you might be playing a game and might be into it and your hour block goes up and like, what does that mean? Does it mean you're going to lose, what do you call it in your game? Like progress because you're not at a save point. I find the block time thing ridiculously scary because I don't know if you know this, but in a lot of nations, they won't have a federation overlooking their internet. So what they do is they're allowed to sell tiers of internet at incredibly high prices in different tiers. So they can say, here's your game internet, and you can use it for game for $26 an hour. Here's your phone internet for $6 an hour. And they have all these different pricing. And and in fact, a lot of people were worried that's where America was going.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and so that is a little way the way GeForce is like, okay, so I'm buying the game, plus I need 6 hours on allotted. Like it's just too much. So I'm hoping that goes away. As for the quality, I've used it for a long time and been a beta user. It's streaming. It's not magic. The one thing I do like is there's a hack. I don't know if it's available anymore because I haven't tried it. There's a hack to post your desktop to your device as well. So I was able, so the desktop would be here and you could see my mouse cursor by my finger on my tablet. So I could like move my tablet around and see the mouse cursor. So I could actually use the front end as well, which was sort of cool if I wanted to, for whatever reason. But yeah, I mean, it works. It works. I think everything's a death blow to Stadia.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that would, yeah. I guess I was just being a little hyperbolic, but yeah, it's very clear that Stadia was exactly what was expected, and I don't think anyone's too surprised by that. I don't know why anyone adopted that service. I'm being completely honest. That's no offense to anyone who did buy it, but I don't know what about it spoke to someone, especially because now, at least with this, you can try it, right? You can get a feel for it and see like, okay, like what is the streaming future that everyone's talking about? Like, is this a gleam into that? And get a feel for it. But with like Google Stadia, you guys spend like what, $100+ for the Founders Edition? Like it's I don't know.
It's even weirder, Matty, when you think about the oddity of buying. Like, let's say you play Origin, all those where like any game you buy on Steam works on Google. That would have changed, or works on Stadia. That would have changed the entire dynamic. Even if they left their pricing the way it was, it would have changed everything. But it's not, which is the most fucking weird. Like, this is saying you can play the game at home and you're playing it streaming if you want. They're like, not only can you not play it at home, but you got to stream it and you have to buy the game again. It's just, it's a mind fuck in how they're so poorly timed compared to everybody else.
And what's sad is that even if Nvidia's service needs to work out some kinks, it'll stand to benefit more because everyone's trying to, just kick Google a little bit, right? And like kind of stick it to them. And I think people were more willing to say like, oh, I'll spend $5-10 for a block of 5 hours and see what this is like. So could I, for example, take Hollow Knight and stream it to my phone for 6 hours if I'm like a paid member? Is that how exactly it works? Because I honestly didn't even know for a while that Nvidia was working on this. So is that how it works necessarily?
That's exactly how it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I kind of like that.
It runs through
an app. That's what xCloud was supposed to do.
Right, and it runs through an app that you download. So unfortunately, you might have some Android phone that it doesn't work well with. You always get that not compatible. But overall, you download it to your iPhone or your Android device. And I have it on 2 of mine, I think. So
okay.
I don't use it. I mean, it's cool to like go, wow, but
interesting.
I mean, why would I? I'm trying to think of why I would use it, like, because
only place that ever comes to mind, dude, is an airport. That's the only place that ever comes to mind where I'm going to be sitting in a public place with jack dick to do for multiple hours, and even then, I normally have my Switch or a Vita on me because I'm prepared to travel. I don't just end up there, right? I guess maybe, if you have like one of those controller attachments stashed in the car, you're going to pick up your kid from practice is run a little late, you can just attach your phone and start playing a game. I guess, but I've just never, I don't know. The thing is, and this is not to say that anyone who tries to use the streaming service on the go like that, like has a type of like addiction, if you will, to games, but like I can step away from games enough to be like, all right, I don't need to play them right now. I'm going to go do what I got to do. Because I'm a believer that like when you're away from things, you miss them a little bit more. So it's nice to return to them. But like, I don't need my games like that accessible constantly. And that's just my stance on it. Not that streaming's not the future or that I don't need streaming. It's just that I don't see myself using these streaming services because where I feel they're feasible, I'm just like, I'll just chill in the car on my phone or something like that. Like I'll catch up with friends or I'll give my girlfriend a call. Like I'll do something else. I don't need to play a game. That's how I view it, at least.
Yeah, I just don't find them insanely useful. But they are. If they were super easy, then there would be an addition. There'd be a provider of additional coolness, but not something that I would hinge my gameplay around ever.
Yeah. I guess it could be convenient for us when we're reviewing games. You got to do something. Take Revin to the vet, maybe. He's in the room, and I'm just continuing my review on the go. I guess maybe that could help. I'm trying to be optimistic here. I'm trying to think it out. Where could I use this?
I think for slower games and stuff where your touch control might not be an issue, because that's another issue I have is how things are controlled. I think that there's a chance that something might be useful, but I think for most people they're not. Control schemes aren't built yet. Dude, we can't even get a control scheme that's set up right for a gamepad and a steering wheel for racing games. There's usually one or the other. Yeah. We can't get shit right for a joystick. Ace Combat released on the PC and only worked on 2 fucking joysticks, and it's the PC. It's the primary platform for everything that's supposed to work. So we can't even get that right. So currently, when I try to play on my handheld device, I have all these other issues. If you have devs who are like, we are solidly putting time behind making sure your touch device and your Xbox 360 controller or your mouse and keyboard are all valid control schemes, that changes it. But I personally believe touch is not a valid control scheme. That's my personal. I don't think it's valid at all.
It doesn't. I don't know. Touching a flat surface doesn't emit control to me either.
Your finger is in the fucking way. Imagine trying to watch a movie where every time you looked at Brad Pitt, you put your fucking finger over his head. You'd be like, you can't see the guy. Like, it makes no fucking sense.
It reminds me of KOTOR when I'm playing on like an iPad or something. Like the analog stick, I put in quotes, is there, right? Like they have
the fake ones.
Yeah. And the idea is. Yeah, and the idea is what you would do is take like a sticky thing.
I have
like
one of those.
Suction cup and just put it on, and then you can control them just fine. At that point, I'm like, just get a controller. But yeah, it's like you start to like just slide up, and then suddenly you're covering half your character's body. It's just, I don't know. It feels weird. I don't like touch when it comes to games. There's times where like touch functionality, like on the Vita, for example, is really cool. I don't know. Have you ever played Tearaway on the Vita?
Okay, no.
So
sorry. I was just nodding no. But no, I forgot. Audio. No.
You're okay. So there's this one part in the game, and it happens multiple times where, like, I think you're, like, fighting off enemies, and there's a back touchpad on the Vita, and you can, like, when you press on it, in-game, like, your finger comes up into the world, and you start, like, moving it around the touchpad, and you start, like, wiping out enemies and stuff. That type of interaction with, like, a touch system is actually pretty neat. I kind of like that, but
do you know what I like?
As far as it goes.
This is the only reason I like touch on the Nintendo Switch is the fucking entering my passcodes I get from game devs.
Oh yeah?
The dunk,
it
dunk,
makes it a little easier.
I'm just like dunk 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 instead of with the fucking thumb pads on an Xbox or whatever. It sounds so dumb, but the first time I did it on the Switch, I was like, oh dear God, this is so much better.
Yeah.
But that's the only time I ever even use it.
All right, with that out of the way, let's move into our patron questions for the week. As always, we tell you guys you can go to the Discord. There's a section called Podcast Questions. Submit them there. We have, I think, like 13, 14 today. We got a lot of submissions to go through. So let's get this started with the tool. With the new consoles coming out, what do you think Nintendo's next move will be? I know they like to release things independently from Sony and Microsoft, but they obviously need to upgrade hardware somewhat soon after the other two to keep up. Does Nintendo need to keep up is the real question, I feel.
People gave him shit, but Spencer yesterday said that he didn't really see Sony and Nintendo as direct competitors as much as they used to. And I would say that he's actually right. They're all competitors in weird spots. So Microsoft for streaming is like competing against Google and somewhat Sony and Amazon, and then consoles it's Microsoft and Sony, and then handheld it's just Nintendo. So Nintendo, no one's making handhelds, and no one's making handhelds that good. So no, I don't. Man. I mean, I want a Pro, by the way. let's not confuse that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think their thinking is like any of our thinking.
Yeah, and I've been kind of emphasizing that more and more lately. I was in on, like you said, the Pro hype. I was like, yeah, I could definitely go with one of those. I wouldn't mind that at all. I just don't think it's feasible. I don't think it's necessary for them. I think, they still have a lot of room to grow with the initial Switch. I feel if they were immediately going like, all right, let's move on to the next big thing, a lot of people were like, well, wait, I didn't even buy one in the first place. And I mean, there's such an excellent attachment rate to the Switches that's
it's just ridiculous,
insane. So yeah, Nintendo's not just selling people a console, but at least like 3 games on average, which is just nuts. And these games, Nintendo games don't go down in price, so they're more than likely getting $60 there. And for gamers like us, the ports are magical. So there's a lot to really love about the Switch now. And there's no need to rush it. I've been working on a little something, and I've been studying the PS Vita, and I feel like some hasty decisions are what cost that console. I think Sony didn't see the immediate success and was very quick to abandon it. Yeah, exactly. And in this case, we are seeing pretty insane growth, and there's no need to immediately abandon that and move on. I think just keep riding the wave. Keep making great games. I think when the time comes when Nintendo says, let's do a Switch Pro, there will be a big enough market ready for that. But as it stands now, and also, you know what people got to remember, before this was the Wii U, Nintendo's probably enjoying the fact that they have a console that's like, relevant.
Yeah.
And they don't got to worry about that. And if I'm them, I don't want to worry about that for a long while. So I imagine they're just going to stick with the Switch as is. All right. Next question comes from Base Cabbage. We do have some new names this week, so thank you all for joining up on the Patreon. We do appreciate you. With the release of Fallout 76 Wastelanders coming in April and Starfield potentially releasing near the launch of next-gen consoles, do you believe that it is possible that only a year from now we will have forgotten BGS's last 2 years of bed shitting? I love what they have done as a whole and really want them back on top. I refuse to believe they are EA, Blizzard, Activision, or BioWare, but I can't hold out hope much longer.
Wow. Blizzard was added to that. I got to admit, yes, Blizzard's made some mistakes, but that just goes to show you how long people will remember things. I think people remember it, but will anybody who matters remember it? Will people remember it enough to not buy their, like their next game or whatever?
Blizzard and Activision sell games no matter what, so.
Yeah, and I think Bethesda will too. They've been torn.
Bethesda struggled to sell a lot of their games, though. That's the thing with them. And it's not because of backlash. Like, this is when they were fine. Like, when
come on. If they did Skyrim 2, dude.
Oh. Well, Skyrim 2.
You know what I mean?
It's the forbidden words.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. I guess I'm saying if they sell into their strength. If they're trying to do something odd, yeah, I could see that.
But the thing is 76 was like a supreme example of they banked so hard on
hubris.
That strength. Yeah, that Bethesda Game Studios put the label on there, even though it was like a ton of other companies working on it. And it backfired on them, and I think it really damaged the rep of BGS. I think as it stands now, Arcane and BGS are their best developers. That's no disrespect to anyone else who works for Bethesda. I just think those two have put out the most quality products as a whole. You're asking if it's possible that we'll have forgotten Bethesda's bed shitting in the last 2 years, and no one will forget.
Yeah.
No one will forget. I hate to say that, but no one shall forget. And if you don't want to believe they're an EA, a Blizzard, an Activision, a BioWare, like no one's telling you that, but you got to accept that they're not what they used to be.
Yeah.
And that's important to accept, I think, because then it starts the battle of like telling them how to improve.
And what are Bethesda, they now?
Yeah, exactly. Because like Bethesda wants you to, any company, by the way, in their situation wants you to feel bad for them, love them, buy their games as like a, as if it's like a trust thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a product, it's a game.
There's no trust.
Treat it as that.
Yep.
Yeah. They want, and this is not me just labeling Bethesda. These companies, they're businesses. They want your money. They want you to buy the game. So
yeah, your job is to get as much as you can for your money, and their job is to get as much money as they can. That's how business works.
Exactly. All right. Droop Snoot has a number of questions for us. Let's start off with number one. Yeah, right. These names, man. What's a type of game that you're really hungry for right now that we haven't seen a good version of in a while?
A Mass Effect style game. Greedfall is the only one that's hit.
Yeah, like a hub-based RPG that has like a really strong main
Western style party hub-based.
Yeah.
RPG.
Yeah, it's been a really long while since outside of Greedfall. And Greedfall was great, but it's just like there's not it didn't satiate my thirst, I guess.
Right.
I guess I could.
Outer Worlds did pretty well. Now that I think about it.
Yeah. The Outer Worlds. See, the thing is, the Outer Worlds. It felt more like a solo experience. I didn't think the party members were great in the Outer Worlds, but like the companions traveling with you, something just didn't. It didn't feel like a KOTOR or a Mass Effect in that way. And I just think it's because like first person combat doesn't translate that almost teamwork.
Do you think it could have also been that it just wasn't that long of a game too?
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't have as much time to really.
Mm-hmm. I guess I could go back to what I was talking about last week where I was saying, stealth games are sort of suffering, and it's been a while since we've seen a really, kind of Dishonored like stealth game where it's just really strong. Like narratively it's good, but like gameplay freedom, replayability. I adore Dishonored. I really think that's like outside of the original Thief, I've never played that, so I can't speak to that. And some of the Splinter Cell games I haven't played, but I just think that Dishonored's like the peak stealth gameplay because of how many ways you can approach the hub area, and make choices that kind of change the outcome of the story too. I mean, it's just crazy how much that game packs into it. I love Dishonored, so I wouldn't mind for a Dishonored or a Prey, an Arcane style experience, because it's been a while since because the last game that they really helped on that released was, it was Wolfenstein Youngblood, and that wasn't very good. So before that, it was Prey, and that was like, 2017, I think?
Yeah,
so
it's been a long time.
It's been a while. Yeah. All right, next question from Droop Snoot is, have either of you reviewed or gave impressions on a game that you would go back to, that if you were to go back to it, you would change what score you gave it at? Minus Fallout 4 for you, Matty. You took away the easy answer. Do you have one, Karak? Or are you pretty set in stone with anything you?
Yeah, I'm pretty set in stone. As long as he's not saying that it's changed from patches. It sounds like he's saying you think you made a mistake on.
Yeah, and I would be in the same boat as you if it's that one of Fallout 4, like you said, that would probably be the one I was like, I didn't really get that one right first try. But after that, I feel like.
But are you sure you would have changed your entire score, or do you just think you wouldn't have been high on it?
I would have been. I still think Fallout 4 is worth buying, right?
Exactly.
That's how I view it, right?
Exactly.
So I don't think that would have changed. That ultimate rating would have changed my tone and
right.
Quote selling of the game, if you will. Saying how good it was definitely would have been toned down, because I think that's important. I think that's a big part of the review, because there's buy this game. That's how I kind of was with Assassin's Creed, and then there's I guess Astral Chain where I'm buy this game, right?
Right.
There's a tone in that. So. After Fallout 4, I really can't say I feel like I had ones I got wrong. And as people have seen on my channel, Karak, you don't do this. I think you should do this. It would be really cool to see you do it. I do modern reviews of older games. So I did a 2017 review of BioShock 1. I did a 2019 review of Divinity 2. I did a 2020 review of KOTOR. And they're really just fun excuses to go back to games and critique them in a modern fashion, and also to see how they hold up. And so, you can kind of see that line of thinking from me in that content. So I'm not afraid to go back to an old game and make an updated review. But when it comes to MMOs and stuff, I did pretty continuous content for a while on ESO. I did it for SWOTOR for a little bit. I guess if it's being updated, I'd stay pretty on top of it. You can say the same with 76, right? I've given my updated thoughts on that game a million times. Number 3, if you were to work for any game developer, who would you want to work for, and what would you want your job to be? I know I'd want to be in community management. I feel like that's my strength. And what would be a fun community to work with? A Dragon Ball, I guess. I don't know. I feel like, you got to have passion and love indefinitely for whatever community you're working with. So I'd say something I guess that would be Namco then. But I don't know how free and willing they are to roll with the Matty. What about you?
Do you know that is something I've never once contemplated?
Yeah, I could believe that.
I don't. It would be an idea man kind of thing. So it'd be like a GTA, working in a GTA and coming up with the ideas of different missions and all the crazy shit you can do. But there's no real company I would want to work for in the industry. I wouldn't want to.
I agree. Once you start working for yourself, not to cut you off, I feel like once you start working for yourself, that's what you want. You want to stay there.
Yeah. Yeah, and even if it was if somebody said you get to create a new Mass Effect in whatever way you want it or something, it wouldn't even be the making of the game. It'd be the world and the lore and jumping in. But I think I'm more interested in reacting and investigating those things once somebody else has made them versus myself. I would love to write those kind of things, but I think writing a book is a book. It's right in front of you. When you make a game, there's 1,000 people. How do you know your idea would be, even accepted? So not really into working for the industry.
I would say writing too. I sell myself short on some of my creativity, but I think of it in such a short term thing. I've never sat down to write a story and just characters and let it marinate. I usually like to write little short stories. I feel like if I were to ever write for a game, it would be like side quests, or
Sure.
it'd be lore bits, like that type of shit, like little papers that you find, and building out the world in a natural way. I feel like that's where I'd specialize, because that's where my writing's more tailored to. But also, I've never like I've tried world building and characters in D&D, and I don't think I was bad at it. I mean, you see some of the work out there, and it's just like some people's words just jump off the paper, and you're like, God, you are so talented. Last question from Droop Snoot, number 4. If you could have an animal companion in a video game, what animal would you want it to be? I would have either a cow or an anteater. A dog, of course. Dog's man's best friend. Man's best friend. Only way you can go.
Yeah, probably a dog. There's an old whiskey commercial that was a Conan the Barbarian looking chick, as in the statuesque Amazon style chick. And she rode a, of all things, warrior like polar bear. And I remember seeing this full page art. It was in a Playboy, but it was a whiskey commercial. And I remember just being blown away by the art. Like, it looked like it looked like a fucking fantasy killer rideable polar bear. And I remember for years when I was playing D&D, I always wanted, I always be like, man, there's got to be a polar bear in my game. You know, I love that idea. Something crazy like that. But overall, a dog. It's just easier.
Yeah, I agree. Natural calamity. Looking back, is there any games from your childhood you wish you did better in, or you wish did better in sales, or either in the impact they had on the industry, excluding KOTOR and Ninja Turtles? Well, KOTOR did have an impact. So did Ninja Turtles.
Advent Rising.
Interesting pick.
I'll probably always think that. I don't think there'll be another game that I feel differently.
Honestly, my pick probably would have been the original Nier, but now that we have Automata, that's...
You cut out the original what?
I said I would have had the original Nier, but now that we have Automata, it's kind of irrelevant, because that was like a cult classic. A lot of game series that I like that are kind of niche or didn't get a lot of attention ended up getting that. So like Danganronpa is another one.
Right.
I don't think I have a good answer for this one. I'm going to be honest. Normally, I have something that comes to mind, but I feel like, it's the major franchises for me that I usually struggle with. You know, like Fallout 3 needs to get remastered. Nothing's happening there. KOTOR, we've heard murmurs, but nothing happening there. All right, Vault 101 guy asks us, what are our predictions on the PS5 price tag? How much do you think we're paying? How much are we taking out of wallet for this one?
I think we've seen the writing on the wall when they're super expensive, so I'd say $499.
You don't think they're going to be more because of the whole China thing going on?
Well, they could be, and they could be delayed, or maybe not delayed, but slowly rolled out for sure because of that. Yeah, for sure. But I don't know if they'll change their price. I think Microsoft and Sony will figure out a way, if there's an issue with the China thing and the coronavirus and tariffs, then most likely they'll still try to figure out a way to get them at a normal price, even if it means losing money.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting start to the generation because of all of that, because it's just such like an unpredictable circumstance sort of thrown into it, like just a random monkey wrench. So yeah, I would say personally, if the $500 price tag, anyone who's expecting $400 or $450, I think you're that's pretty below. The only thing you may see, and I know you're asking PS5, but Xbox may eat the cost a little bit more, I think, because they're taking a more service and play the games approach.
They may.
And they also have the situation where you can pay for an Xbox $20 a month until it's fully paid off or something.
Yeah.
So you can make that impulse buy, and I think if you can lower that as much as possible, Microsoft probably finds that a very appealing option to be like, hey, we could get someone paying us $500 on the spot or $30 a month for the next number of months, and you could count that with maybe they get Game Pass with that, and there's just a lot there. There's just a lot there that they can just be raking in revenue. So I think it's more likely you see those types of options with Xbox side of things.
Yeah, I agree.
Molotov Michelle says, what is your favorite video game style? Examples are cel-shaded, pixel art. Oh, man. I don't...
Cel-shaded would probably be mine. I like.
Really?
Yeah, I think it ages well.
It definitely does. Yeah, your favorite, huh? That's interesting. I like 8-bit RPGs.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I just something about it because it's not 8-bit, but when you look at something like Octopath, it's
Yeah.
amazing like how beautiful Octopath Traveler looks on Unreal Engine, despite having like
Those
pixel
style.
figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I think it's so exciting to see how, I guess kind of like what you said with Cell Shaded, it aged well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it works out pretty well there. All right, what else do we have here? Vault 101 guy also asked us, not sure if you guys have talked about this, but if you were Disney and was deciding on who should take the Marvel/Star Wars license, who would you choose? It could be up to 2 companies.
Obsidian, probably.
Interesting.
Microsoft Obsidian. I actually think those 2 companies, strangely enough, are probably in a far better position to deliver something than, than most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be. I'm trying to think of companies, and then there. I've always wondered what Bethesda would do with their family of developers with the Star Wars license. I really do. Once again, I think of BGS in an open world game. I think of Arcane doing a Star Wars stealth game or something like that. Just wow, like a Machine Games first person shooter, like a Republic Commando sequel. Just that.
Yeah.
I know Bethesda kind of sucks now, but I really would be curious on how they would handle the Star Wars license. I would not be angry if that ended up happening. Obviously, I think Karak's answer is the best, though, in terms of like reliability, the ability to deliver that type of stuff. You'll probably find in other companies, but in the terms of what talent's there and what ideas are being shifted around, I wouldn't mind Bethesda. I'll be honest. I'll take the fall for it. Crazy Urbask says, have you ever given up on a game because of a boss being too difficult or annoying?
Yeah, Beyond Good and Evil 1, the 5th boss, he has a cage for a head. And we've talked about it, not on this podcast, but I mean, my friends and I always talk about it as a game that I adore, but ended up having to come to later. And a friend beat it while we were all sitting together and playing, but I couldn't. We went to sleep that night. It was that typical, like, we just can't do this. And I definitely walked away from that. I don't walk away from most games because of a boss. I walk away from the stuff between the bosses. If the game world is uninteresting, a boss I can usually work around.
Yeah. Is there a game that had like a really tough boss?
Well,
I guess
Neo had a couple really tough bosses, at least for at least for me, and I know a lot of people.
I stuck with Neo though. I got the platinum for that.
Yeah,
I'd say before this week, probably Sekiro. Not because like the boss was so hard or annoying. It was more so I got to a mini boss and I was just like, I don't care. Like I don't want to figure you out, and I didn't, and I just dropped it because like then and there it was like this is the time where the game challenges you and you try to learn the systems and you want to get better, and I was like, I don't want to get better.
Yeah,
to be honest,
where you don't care about the challenge.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And so I'd say Sekiro before this week. Obviously, not a modern answer because I'm playing it now, but I would say that's the most fair. Johnny EC says, if you ran a vault in the Fallout universe, what would your number be and why? Mine would be 404 because of the error code. I feel like a number can't often symbolize, how fucked up something is.
13, just for bad luck.
I think that's the first vault in Fallout 1 too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the one.
My memory's a little hazy on it because it's been a while since I've played that game, like 3 or 4 years. I'd go with 12. It's my favorite number. I'm not going to get into it too much. It's about what's on the inside of the vault, right? Like, what fucked up experiment could you do inside the vault?
Right.
And I would make everyone play Ride to Hell Retribution 3 times over and then write an essay on it.
Before they could escape?
Yes.
That's fair.
A full essay, yeah. And then they can leave. Because then they can contribute to society by, having their ability to tolerate awful things truly tested.
Yeah, that's truly tested to the utmost.
Benjam asks us, what is something you want to see happen in your lifetime? For me, it's either aliens or other intelligent life is real. Not to get controversial, but what happens after we die, and if there is an afterlife?
Aliens.
That's really deep. Yeah, aliens would be sick.
Yeah, I'd be sick. That'd be by far my, because I think it would probably show humanity and the whatever future light we're gonna have. Like, what would that initially cause? What were we saying?
For the sake of conversation, and probably more on point for me is I'd like to see life like on another planet, like people taking a transport to, we'll say, Mars.
Oh, for sure.
And actually living there. I really think that's something I'd love to see in our lifetime. I think that'd be so interesting because it's like, where do you go from there?
Yeah, right. You can do anything if you can do that.
Yeah. It's going to turn into Mass Effect, and hopefully they turn like people into like cybernetics and stuff, because I want to be alive for it.
Yep.
turn my brain into a robot and just keep me going. I just want to see it all. Some guy says, first of all, thanks for all the Star Wars game suggestions last week. I picked up Republic Commando and love it. Great. Well, we're happy that you took our suggestion on that. Since Karak was talking about Rebel Strike on the GameCube, what GameCube games do you guys love? Oh, Laylee and I just did a whole episode of BFGF AFK dedicated to this. And since you're a patron and you're on the Discord, you have access to it. So give that a listen for my answers. For me, though, I just quickly list off stuff like Star Fox Assault, Smash Melee, Soul Calibur 2, Naruto Clash of Ninja. Those are great games. What about you? You got any favorite GameCube games?
No, I would say watch yours
controller.
Because the only one I even know of the only one I've even played is Star Wars. I hated the GameCube.
You hated the GameCube.
I hated it with a passion that is almost impossible to fathom.
I want to hear why.
Controller, same reason why I hated the N64.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
You hear what I said just now? I was like, I can't see you holding a GameCube controller. Like, there's just, I don't know what it is. I can't imagine it.
Yeah.
So you just didn't like how it felt?
I just despised how it felt. I
get that.
Yeah, it was one of those things, like you said, where like, or like many people said, like you hold something in your hand like a controller and you're like, this works for me. And I remember looking at it and just being like, that's not for me. And then I grabbed the controller and I was like, double not for me. And I forced my way through Star Wars. Yeah.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
Terrible controller.
Tropical Ice Crow or Ice Cow. I always fuck up your name. I'm sorry. What are some of the best, worst, and favorite games Way's game have been announced? I personally like BGS's Way with a little teaser before a reveal and a release date like Fallout 4 as my favorite, and really dislike the tiny leaks that go on and on like Warner Brothers is doing with its new Batman game.
Sure.
I think we can agree on the worst.
Yeah, we can agree on the worst.
Yeah, I think the worst is very obvious, just the drawn out like, okay, it exists, we get it.
Yeah, and the best is anything not that. Really, to me. I don't mind the other stuff, but I don't like the drip feed shit. I'm done. Done with that.
I get that. I think my least favorite is also cinematic trailers. I think they're the most irrelevant thing ever. I get it that maybe it sells to a different crowd and it makes it easier to market your game, but my God, as someone who consumes a lot of games, I am so fucking over it. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
All right. Last set of questions comes from Grade 851. I just finished rewatching The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings extended cut versions of the movies. Also looked through some of the RPG books from Cubicle 7 Lord of the Rings Tabletop RPG. Makes me want a new AAA game with modern graphics and game design sensibilities in the world that isn't Orc Killing Simulator in a gray and brown Mordor. What games would you guys like to see next in Lord of the Rings?
None.
What?
I don't like Lord of the Rings. I didn't like the books. I like the movies. The first three. The first, the main series.
The trilogy,
yeah. I find the world really, really boring. And
I think the world isn't as deep as people think it is.
Right. And I get why people like it, and it's what created fantasy for the rest of us. So I, in no way, shape, or form am I, bothered by it. But it's sort of like a gun, where the first guy who created a gun, it was just a fucking pipe that exploded in the enemy's general direction. That's sort of the way Lord of the Rings is to me. Is it's really not lazy, but cluttered, and like some of the stuff is just a little too arcane. And as we've gone in and had these future worlds built by other people, I've liked their worlds better. So I'm okay with never seeing it. I think it's great though. So if there is one, I might go see the movie. I just am not waiting with bated breath for a new one.
I would love to see a new Lord of the Rings game. If I were to see one, I have yet to tinker with it, but I'm going to play Lord of the Rings Tactics on my PSP because it came in this like giant game haul I got that I unboxed on my Patreon.
I saw that. I watched the Patreon. That was cool.
It was so crazy. Yeah, like the guy had like a tremendously good deal when I saw it, and I was like, I can't pass this off. There's just too many of like my classics there, but one of them was Lord of the Rings Tactics. And it's like a strategy game based in Lord of the Rings, and I know Lord of the Rings is actually the product of like a lot of great games. Like I think there was the Battle for Middle Earth, which was like an RTS. There was, of course, Lord of the Rings Conquest. I would love to see come back. That was a fantastic game. What else was there? There was it was like a 3-player co-op game.
That was the only one I was going to say that I actually liked. Was the 3-player where you played fake Gandalf, fake Aragorn, and fake Gimli, or not Gandalf, the elf.
Legolas.
Yeah. I actually, but I like those games. They're Gauntlet. Like
there's just something kind of janky about them. Yeah, I like them too. And so that game I liked. They had Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor. Those were great games. I don't think an open world Lord of the Rings game is that great. Like even when I was like in that open world craze when Mordor dropped, I was very much like along the lines of thinking just it doesn't feel necessary.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe a strategy game. That'd be neat. A strategy RPG. Something like Fire Emblem. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool.
Hey, Ming, shut up. I apologize.
Number 2. No, you're good. Number 2 from Grade 851 is with the licensed IP exclusivity deals like EA has with Star Wars. Seems like the only the most mass appeal games ever. Sorry, this once again, it's the last questions that just seem to have the worst grammar. And we've talked about this. Grade Ape has heard us dive into Good Sport Mike Fury on how grammar and revision of your questions is of the utmost importance. Because what happens is, I don't care if I look stupid. I've said stupid shit before. But I stumble, I stutter, and then the listener gets confused. Do you want to be that guy? You don't. You don't want to be that guy.
It's all on you, punk!
Yes. So revise your message so I can read it. Now I will try again. With licensed IP exclusivity deals like EA has Star Wars, seems like only the most mass appeal games ever get made. Warhammer has different types of license deals and seems to have different and diverse types of games coming out. Can you guys talk about what the arrangement Warhammer exactly has with licensing and why other IP holders don't go down that route? Now, this is more, I think, up your alley. We can talk about IP. I can talk about IP, but you've played a lot of Warhammer games.
Yeah, and I follow Games Workshop because they're D&D first and then games later. So Games Workshop for the longest time was incredibly open to anybody making games. They made like Gene Stealer and a couple others, and they went to shit. They went to absolute donkey shit. And then they pulled back the license completely. And they were like, nobody's making games but 1 or 2 companies. And then in the last 5 years, about 8 years, they've actually opened it back up. So this is the second time it's technically been open for others to really go wild. And what they do is the companies come to them and basically state which of the IPs they want to use. And then they have specific requirements and they look at the catalog. Like, we don't want 5 RTS games. We don't want 5 MMOs. And then they basically hand out authorization for the IP once they've met with the team and they've decided this is something that like we're at least interested in seeing. And that's pretty much it. But I would say that most other companies don't have it because Warhammer 40,000 is like 40 years worth of... I mean, the game world's bigger than Star Wars. Like, people don't realize what Warhammer 40,000 is. It's like 6 product lines, video games, cartoons, fucking audiobooks. Like, it is easily as big as Star Wars when it comes to how much data out there is available for people to turn into a game.
And I think it's one of those series that you may have like interacted with and not known it. Like someone
without even knowing.
Like, let's play Vermintide and not know that's like a Warhammer game.
It's absolutely correct. Yep. It can happen all the time.
When I bought it, or like obviously I knew upon purchasing it because it was in the title, but when I was watching gameplay for it and then ended up looking it up and then buying it, that's when I found out it was Warhammer. I was like, wow, I would have had no idea. And it kind of gets you invested, right? And that's kind of what I think they're doing, is just trying to hit all angles so that you get, involved in that Warhammer universe, right? I've seen like some really bad Warhammer games though, right?
Very much
like
so.
Space Marine, not a good one, or something like that.
There's been a couple, and they try to minimize them, but they're still going to happen. But I think now that the IP matters less. So in the old days, they would sue somebody, like a store. If a store sold the game, no lie, if a store sold the game for like $1 cheaper than they were supposed to, Games Workshop had people going in and pretending to buy games just to see what a store owner would do. If they
This
didn't,
is why you listen to the end of the show, folks.
Yeah.
You just don't hear this stuff during the news.
at Trump's Hobbies in Corvallis, where I used to live, the guy told me there was one time where they came in and they were so mad because they had sold them booster packs and they weren't all together. Like they were one away from, and then there was a booster pack for a different company in between, and they were livid. They were like, we're going to pull everything from your store. You're going to have no Games Workshop for a year. And instead they paid an extra percentage on every item that they bought for a year. They were the mafia. They're the Nintendo of like board games. Because remember, Nintendo did that to Toys R Us.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Oh my God, man, that's so wild.
They're legit a cartel. If I mean, anybody in the RPG sphere who's old will like remember the crazy days of those guys fucking hammering the shit out of people. They would, if your guy looked like a Star Wars or a fucking dude from their world, they'd crack down on the RPG company and they'd be like, we're suing you to oblivion. And it was just crazy, man. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. Very insane company.
Fascinating. And with that fascinating story, that's the last of the patron questions. We thank you for all your submissions.
Yes,
As
indeed.
this episode wraps up, just know that if this episode is jump cutty, it's because I've been feeling hella sick the whole episode. Karak can attest to the fact that I have been sprinting back and forth for a number of times this episode. So if it ever gets skippy, because I know you can hear it in the editing, that is why. I couldn't say it in advance because I didn't see it coming. But I've been getting destroyed this episode. So
yeah, we'll get everything. We'll make sure to get everything fixed in the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
We'll try to get the audio a little bit better, and we'll do a couple things. But yeah,
Yeah.
that shit happens though. There's been times where I've given you like 20 minutes notice, and I'm like, dude, I have a migraine, man. I cannot be on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like it happens.
It happens, exactly. So thank you to Karak for being such an understanding host as he sat there and just chilled. While
I did. I
was
sang
dying.
Metallica songs. You can probably hear them in my copy of the audio. I'm just like, exit. I was just sitting here waiting. It happens. I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for participating. If you got this far, just put the hashtag Matty Stomach.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, that's the only way you'll know. Because, see, the perfect thing is, you could always technically skip, couldn't you? Oh, well. I'm going to trust that no one does that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to sign off with this episode, and we will catch you guys next week.
Peace out.